Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Nick and this is Geeks with Cash. We're going to go over something that's a little bit new for the channel overall. I've done a little bit in this past, but not a whole lot. Some of you may know I've kind of dipped my toe in and out of the VR space from time to time. I've never gotten hardcore sucked into it. I've never hated it. I've found some things very interesting and some things I just didn't care for. One of the things I really didn't care for was the wired nature of a lot of the headsets. Now, my original headset was the Rift S. That's actually quite a good headset. It's not bad. Some of the tracking as you get too far out with your hands becomes a bit of an issue. And it's a little hard to track, particularly when you're playing something that's a little bit frantic like Beat Saber. It's pretty easy to either not see the target you're going for or to just straight up miss it. Because it wasn't exactly being tracked quite right. So, I was looking kind of for an upgrade and for something that was a little bit more flexible and a little bit more portable, and I got this, the Quest 2. Now, this just came out, like, I want to say about a year and a half ago, and was pretty scarce for a while. Now, they're actually quite a bit more common in the stores, should you want to get your hands on them. There's two levels of this. There's about a $250 to $300 unit, and then there's a $400 unit, and the biggest change in it is the amount of storage space on the unit. I haven't started using that yet. We'll go on to that in a minute. But what I wanted to cover today was some of the basics if you're thinking about jumping into VR, or if you just jumped into VR, and kind of what your options are, what the ecosystems looks like, and that kind of thing. Okay? So the first thing I want to cover is pay attention to the type of headset that you bought. There are three main headsets on the market right now. There's the HTC Vive, which has its own ecosystem, which will allow you to pay X amount per month and can stream and play any game you want. It works a lot like Game Pass, but it was out before Game Pass was a thing. It was already a service before then. That will actually work with both the Steam and the Oculus headsets. So if you want, you can technically even use it with this, and I'll go into how at some point. If you have an Index, you've already got access to probably one of the better headsets that's on the market as far as tracking goes. This is comparable in resolution. I think the current versions of the Index are actually a little bit better in resolution, and they have better tracking. And the reason they have better tracking is because they have external light boxes that you hook up in your play space. Those light boxes are what track your controllers instead of your headset. The way this one works is you have cameras here, 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 and here, and there might be some on the side, but I haven't seen them. So this basically has those four little black dots are cameras. And those are what's tracking the motion on this headset. So they can see your controller and track your controller while you're playing. That's how they actually track the motion. And they track the motion of your head basically by your head movement. So the Oculus has its own ecosystem in its own games, and each one of these systems and ecosystems have their own exclusives. It's much like owning an Xbox versus a PlayStation. So you need to take a look at the gaming market for whichever one that you own. The Oculus has a few Star Wars games that some of the others don't have. Steam will have things like Half-Life Alyx that the Oculus won't have, and HTC won't have. As far as I know, I don't really know very many exclusives just to the HTC ecosystem. They're primarily on the Oculus Steam store. Now, most of these will work with the others, for the most part. They've been playing pretty friendly, and so you can operate within each other's ecosystems with your headsets. The one I prefer to get my stuff on is Steam, because if I ever decide to go to a more grounded unit, which would require a cable on the back of the headset again, I would probably move to the Valve Index, and then I would keep my Oculus Quest 2 for when I wanted to be more mobile. Now, there are ways to not load anything onto your Oculus, use it anyway. You can actually plug it into your main PC and you can use it that way, or you can do what they call AirLink, which will let you set up something called a virtual desktop on your PC, and you can link it through a 5G network. And I stress a 5G network. I've tried it through a 2.4G network, and it's way too stuttery. If you go on a 5G band on your Wi-Fi and you connect it to that network, you should have a fairly smooth experience. I have rarely run into anything, even on Expert Plus on Beat Saber, that I can't play with a decent level of proficiency on wireless. Now that's at my skill level. My skill level is not amazing. I know people that can do Expert Plus any day, all day, and if they probably did that the way I'm doing it, it would drive them crazy because they're used to more responsive controls. I'm used to a little bit of delay here and there, and I'm used to my reaction time not being great. So your mileage may vary a little bit on that. If you're a stickler for frame rate and a stickler for responsiveness, you're probably not going to want a wired headset to begin with. You're probably going to want one with external sensors. You're going to want to go with the Index, because the Rift, HTC, both of those use cameras on the headset to track the controllers. Valve Index is the only one with the external satellites that you can use to track the controllers. That's going to give you the most one-to-one response rate on your VR headset that's more commercially viable. This was around a $400 unit. Index, if you get the satellite, if you get the light boxes, is around $1,000. So you're looking at a significant jump in price, and quite frankly, for the mobility that you're getting out of the Oculus Quest 2, I think the Oculus Quest 2 for the casual gamer and for someone who wants to load games on the headset is probably going to have just as good of an experience as someone who has the Index. The Index has much better controllers. It has individual digit movement and things like that. There's some significant improvements on that, so it's not just the headset, it's just whether or not those features are worth it for you. For most people, this headset will work fine. Okay? So that's enough about the headsets and their ecosystems. If you guys want more of a deep dive in that, please let me know in the comments, and I will go into a deep dive on each one of those, and why they work, why they don't work, what I think, what I don't like, that kind of thing. The next thing is to make sure that you have plenty of play space. This is key, okay? You do not want to play this in a small area the size of a chair. One, your arms are going to hit things, you're going to bash into things. Make sure your play space is clean. Move things out of the way, give yourself a decent amount of open space, or play something that you can sit in a chair. Okay, make sure it has that as an accessibility option. You're going to want to do your homework on some of these games. Some of these games are pretty active. You're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to bump into things. You're going to hit your hand. I busted up my hand pretty good playing VR in my tiny room. And it pretty much got me out of playing the system for a while because I came close to breaking my hand one day. It's a thing. So you need to be very careful when you play with these systems that you're not in any danger of hitting anything. You can break things and you can break yourself. Very cognizant of your play space. The Oculus sets up what's called a Guardian, and it will let you know with a little Guardian beam thing around the area when you're starting to exit out of your play area. Generally set that up yourself by setting the floor level and by drawing your play space. That way it knows the area that you're supposed to be in. It's very handy for letting you know when you're about to get out of bounds, and about to hurt yourself. So pay close attention to that. You're in there, and make sure you set things up in that play space appropriately. Don't have anything in it. Okay? That's key. The next thing you need to make sure of is that the headset fits snugly on your head. And you need to make sure that the eyelets are adjusted appropriately. These, in particular, slide in and out. I think I can lift these up. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Yeah. These will move in and out. You can push them in. Like that. Pull them all the way out. Like that. They have 3 levels of adjustment that will fit most people's eyes. Okay? So when you're doing that, you need to make sure that yours are adjusted into the right space. Mine goes in the center, because that's the spacing that's most comfortable for my eyes. You need to make sure that nothing's blurry. You make sure it fits tightly on your head, because if you bump into it, you hit it, you can knock it off, you can break the headset. You also need to make sure that if you have glasses, it's loose enough that you can actually fit your glasses on and you can still be able to see, or that you get contacts. One of the things I see people having the most problem with is people that have severe eye prescriptions on glasses, have thick glasses, or don't make adjustments for this thing. Glasses will fog up, won't fit in here, it's going to be a bad time. So you need to make sure and do your research on your headset before you buy one to make sure that if you have glasses, or that if you use contacts or anything like that, that people have had experiences that they've been able to use these in similar situations, and look at how they've adjusted it in order to make sure that it fits appropriately on you. That way you're going to have a decent time with it. Otherwise, you're going to have a $400 paperweight on your hands, and nobody wants that. Okay? The next thing you need to make sure is that you use the wrist straps on the controllers. Give me a minute. This is one for my Rift S. This is the strap. This looks just like a Wii U strap. The same reason that you use a Wii U wrist strap, you want to use the wrist strap on the Rift controllers, on your index controllers. These things are not cheap. They will fly off your hands. They will break. Okay? Do yourself, your cat, dog, your family members favor. You're not just going to be swinging this thing up and down. You're going to be moving all over the place with it. Flies out of your hand. It could damage something. It could break the controller. It could hurt somebody. Use the wrist strap. I know it seems silly and stupid. Use it anyway, particularly with the Rift controllers, because they fit a little strange. They're a little awkward, and even the Quest 2 are actually wider, which makes them a little bit harder to grip in the right way, to where make sure you don't press a lot of buttons and they kind of want to slip out of your hand. Now, they do make grips that you can put on these that I've been considering buying to add more texture to it so it doesn't slip out of your hand as much. If you have hands that tend to get sweaty when you play, or you have trouble even with the wrist strap, you may want to consider looking for those. The thing that you need to consider is that you need to ease yourself into the experience. You don't want to play a lot of games initially in these headsets with a ton of movement. Okay? If you're running around, like physically running around like Boneworks, or you're on a roller coaster and it's just moving like crazy and stuff like that, what's going to happen is you're going to get basically seasickness. Okay? Seasickness is when you're not moving, but your brain says you're moving and your body's not moving, right? And so that disconnect between your brain telling you one thing and your body telling you another thing will make you sick. It'll make you feel like nauseous and queasy, and you'll have to stop playing, or you'll just make yourself sick. Okay? So some of the easiest games that I found for people that are trying to get into VR and just get used to having like everything kind of coming at you and all that, because it's a different experience. Your brain's gonna have to adjust to it, regardless of what you play. Beat Saber is one, because you're standing stationary 99% of the time. I Expect You to Die is another one, because you can basically sit in a chair and play that and bring things to you. You don't really do a lot of movement. You're looking around, you're experiencing the game, you're still using the VR controllers, so that's another good experience. Okay? Another one that you're probably going to want to basically pay attention to is something like Pistol Whip. Things are moving, you're not necessarily moving. It's an easier experience to get yourself into. Half-Life Alyx and ones that you can like teleport around in. If the movement has an option to blink or teleport, like say Doom, BFR, or say Half-Life Alyx, those are a little bit easier experiences because you move by moving the controller. You'll select where you want to go, and then you'll jump to that location. It's a little jarring, but it's not full-on like motion like you're gonna get out of like say actively moving in Boneworks, where the right analog stick will move you and you'll be running like you are in an FPS. That kind of motion can start to make you feel off balance and queasy, and so you're gonna have to slowly ease yourself into games in that in slower stints to get basically what people would call your VR legs. Okay, same way you'd have to get your sea legs. If you're going to be out on sea a lot, you're going to have to do the same thing in VR. Be very cognizant of that if you start to get one of these headsets. Another thing that you're going to have to pay attention to is because you've got this headset on your head and you've got controllers in your hands, you're likely not going to be sitting down and taking a drink at random different intervals like you would if you were just playing with a controller and you had a soda or an energy drink near you. You're going to want to keep something near to drink. You're going to want to pause occasionally. You're going to want to actively stop and get something to drink. Playing a VR experience, almost any VR experience, is going to be a more active experience than the standard controller layout that you've had before. You're not sitting down, you're generally standing up, you're generally moving your arms around, flailing around, things like that. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you're going to burn a lot more calories and you're going to get a lot more dehydrated. To pay attention to that when you're actually playing in a VR headset. It's an actual valid concern. I've seen people cause themselves problems to basically make sense of it. The last thing, which I've pretty much already covered, but I'm going to reiterate once again, is to pay attention to the different ecosystems. On this headset and on the Rift, you can use something called a virtual desktop, where you can just link directly into Steam VR and launch Steam VR, and you can use Steam from here. You can also link into the HTC network. You can use it, play games off of it. That'll give you access to a large variety of games, but you need to make sure which one has which, and you need to do your homework as far as how you get access to each one of those, what your options are when you have your headset. Hopefully, at least this short little video, which has actually been about 16 minutes, be enough that it'll pretty much give you guys like a good landing pad for what you're going to be doing when you start to experience VR for the first time. If you're an old hand at VR and you have some more tips and more tricks, or you want to say, nah, that's not correct at all, here's what it really is, feel free to leave me a comment down below. As always, thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming.